Anyways, I think we can go ahead. Let me just check participant list and I'll just see based on, we've been pretty consistent. So I'll just go ahead and get started and I'm going to talk for a few minutes. So if anybody joins, Tim, just kind of let me know. We were waiting on one more panelist, but I don't think she has joined. I didn't see Farwa's name on there.
No, she's not here yet.
She was having internet issues. So if she joins in, give me the heads up and I'll make sure that she can introduce herself as well.
Yep.
So welcome back, those of you who attended yesterday, EDUCamp Day 2, woohoo. If you are new to EDUCamp this week, we're really excited to have you all. And I'm really excited about this session in particular because it's more people than just the standard crew that does EDUCamp. You're gonna get to hear from our alumni. And they're really the shining stars because they're what we put out as a product out there into the schools, and we're very proud of them. So anytime we get the opportunity to show them off, this is one of my favorite things to do. And I'm an alumni myself. So I'll chime in on a few things with FGCU related, but I'm gonna leave the expert stuff up to our educators. So those of you who were not on the call yesterday, I'm Lauren. I work in the College of Ed, and my sole job is to recruit future teachers. So this is an effort to do that. Just to kind of take care of some housekeeping things before we get into introductions. Just to let everybody know, if you can mute yourself, let's all practice. There we go. So when you're not talking, please mute your mic. That way it kind of, if someone's baby starts crying, or if dogs start barking, or if anything starts going on, it won't be as distracting for the whole group. So mute your mic when you're not talking. Everybody will have control of their own screen. So in this Zoom call, we've kind of left it up to you on what you want to see. So for example, right now I see a bunch of faces and boxes, but I could change my view to where if I was the only one speaking, I would be in the big screen, and you can do that in your settings, or depending on what device you're on, it'll say switch to active speaker. I'm on an iPad, so that's what mine says. So depending on what your device is, it'll look a little bit different. So just so you know, you have control over your own settings and what you want to see for this call. I'm going to kick this off with introductions. I'm going to let the EDUCamp team introduce themselves first, since it should take less time for us to introduce ourselves. Then we'll go into our panel. So I'm going to kick this over to Tim first to say hello and introduce himself.
All right, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Tim Murphy. I am the social media specialist for the FGCU College of Education. So what I do, is manage our social media channels. I work on portions of our website, like the main FGCU website. And what I do with that is just promote the College of Education, all the awesome things that our students and alumni do. Try and connect us all together as a community through the social media channels. So if you're not already following them, I highly suggest that you do. It's a great way to stay connected to us, see what's going on. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as at FGCU_COE. And that's it for me.
Awesome, thank you, Tim. How about Candy?
Hi, welcome back, everybody. I'm Candy Chamberlain. I am the admin specialist for much of this group and also supporting the College of Ed. I'm happy that we're all here together virtually, and let's have some fun.
And I saw Kiana on the call. Is she still on the call?
She's here, yeah. She's got her microphone muted. I don't know if she was hearing us. Oh, wait, here she comes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm here.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, Dr. Desmore.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Kiana Desmore, and I serve as the Assistant Dean in the College of Education. Welcome back to our EDUCamp. I'm actually in 2 meetings right now, so I'm flipping back and forth, so I don't respond as quickly, that's why. But thank you for coming. We're happy to see you all.
Thank you, Dr. Desmore. And I understand, we think when we work virtually, things would be a little slower, but not for this team. We're always busy. I had 2 calls before I got on this one today, so it's been a really a busy Tuesday. And then we have one person who is actually taking 2 roles, right? She's not quite an alumni yet, but she's serving on the panel because she was a teacher, and she's also teaching courses at FGCU. So I'm going to turn it over to Jen. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jen. I am not an FGCU alumni just yet, In about 1.5 years, I hope to join the ranks of Dr. Desmore and Dr. Meehan and become Dr. Fullwider. I work in the College of Education as the Professional Development Schools Coordinator. Pretty much I work with schools to ensure fabulous partnerships so that we can prepare our future educators. Sorry, I have gum on my mouth. Teaching 101, no. Also, I teach the Intro to Teaching course here at FGCU in the College of Ed, and it's probably the favorite part of my job, and I'm a former teacher.
Perfect. So what we're going to do is get into introductions with our panel. I have prepared questions for the panel, and at the very end, students, if you have questions for them, that's your opportunity to show your face. Don't be shy. You could also put it in the chat box if you really want to, and ask the alumni questions. So let's start off with Kiri. Kiri, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us about you. Tell us what degree you've earned from FGCU. Maybe talk a little bit about basketball if you want to. So I'll toss it to Kiri first.
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry.
No worries. That's what I'm here for.
Hey, everybody. I'm Kiri Druid Giles. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in 2019 in Child and Youth Studies. I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in educational leadership. Plan to graduate in December. Yeah, that's really it. I was a former athlete at FGCU. Yeah.
So where did you do your, yes, basketball. So what did you do with basketball, Kiri? I was a former athlete,
not a,
yeah.
the.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you earned? I mean, you earned some titles, some accolades. What are they?
So this last year I received ASUN Player of the Year, ASUN Scholar Athlete of the Year, all academic team. ASUN Winner for Life, FGCU's a National District Award for academics, and I was on the All-American team. So yeah, I think that's all I can remember right now. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, so too many to even remember, Kiri. Goodness gracious. Okay, thank you, Kiri. So let's kick it over to Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Bollander. I graduated in 2019 in the spring as a secondary social studies education major from Florida Gulf Coast University. I currently teach 7th grade civics at Wellington Landings Middle School. I'm finishing my it's a certificate. It's not a master's program, but you take master's classes to get the certificate, and gifted and talented education. So I work with gifted and talented students, and then I also work with Load 25, and this year I'll be teaching SGA. My principal asked me to be the student government coordinator, so that is a little bit about me.
Now, Caitlin, you also received an award this year.
Yes, I was the 2020 Beginning Teacher of the Year for Palm Beach County, for our county. Yeah, so thanks FGCU for teaching me everything I know.
Thank you. Okay, let's toss this over to Melissa.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Melissa Meehan, and I graduated from FGCU this past spring with my Doctor of Education. And I was, up until 2018, I was a teacher for the school district of Lee County and for the city of Cape Coral Charter Schools. And then I had my first son, and I started working part-time for FGCU as a research assistant and doing some adjunct courses. And then I will be starting a full-time position there in August as a clinical assistant professor of early childhood and elementary teacher education.
Awesome, thank you. We're happy to have you. So let's pass this over to Terrianne.
Hi, everyone. My name is Terrianne Petrakin. I graduated from FGCU in 2011 with a degree in special education. I have been teaching in the Lee County School District for the past 7 years. And most recently, 2 years ago, I became an assistant principal at the school that I actually interned in. So FGCU is my home, and I'll also be going back to FGCU for the Doctor of Education program starting in August.
Awesome, thank you. And last but not least, Jamie, why don't you tell us about you?
Hi, I'm Jamie Seda. I graduated in the spring of 2019 with elementary education. For the past year, I was teaching in Naples as a first grade teacher, and I just relocated to Palm Beach County and found out this past week that I'll now be teaching kindergarten. So very excited for the change, but yeah.
That's awesome. Kindergarten, that's a little bit of an adjustment, but what an exciting opportunity. Congratulations. So let's go ahead and get started now that you kind of know everyone here. I'll throw out the first question. And so the way this is going to go, panelists, if nobody starts talking, I'm going to randomly assign someone to these questions. So I encourage you all to pick the questions that you want to answer and get started talking about them. So the first question is, when did you know you wanted to pursue an education as your career?
I'll start. So I was actually a criminal justice major many moons ago, and I got a job coaching gymnastics. And I loved working with the kids. It was the most, I mean, obviously it was a different setting, gymnastics, but it was just the most fun. I had so much fun with the kids, and the kids would make me laugh, and they would get so excited, and it just made me think like I could do this job. You know, I could work with kids, you know, because they would keep it fun, they would keep everything interesting, and they would keep me on my toes.
Jen, did you want to say? Okay, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I knew when I was a kid, I would line up all my stuffed animals and I would borrow chalk, if you guys remember what chalk is. And I would teach on my bedroom walls to my stuffed animals. But my undergrad, I became a park ranger and then realized I was in the wrong field. I need to go back to become a teacher. So I went back and got my master's and became a special education teacher. So Terrianne, we are the same. So that was mine.
You know, I have a serious question, Jen. Did you have to wear one of those hats as a park ranger?
I know, I'm just picturing her in like the whole getup.
My graduation cap, I actually blew up in a whoopee cushion. That's the closest I wore to a big hat.
Oh, Jen, again with your flatulence. Okay, anybody else want to answer this question? Anybody? No? Okay, we'll move on to the second question. What challenges did you face pursuing your degree in education?
So Dr. Desmore can attest to this from me going back and forth to her office. But I took my test for my subject area, because I'm secondary social science, 3 times, because when you're secondary, I don't know if this is the same for math and biology, but if you fail one portion of your test, you have to retake the whole thing every time. So I kept not being able to pass world history because they would always pick a different part of the world every time I would take it. And so I kept getting discouraged. And then I found like a tutor who would help me, and we studied like every part of the world, and I finally passed it, and I was like, finally, because it was like the one thing that was holding me back. But it was definitely worth it. Like, I would have taken that test 1,000 times if I could have the experiences I've had with my kids.
My challenges in the degree of education is more personal. I had a son when I was 17 years old, when I was graduating my senior year of high school. So I was actually a young mother while I was going through the College of Education, and there was challenges just being home and still working a part-time job. And then ultimately, when it was time to do your internship, you know, I had to make sacrifices, and I'm so grateful I did, you know, to pursue my internship full time, because I learned so much from that experience. But it was just tackling the home life and also being a great student and knowing my goals and knowing what I had to continue to do.
Anybody else want to answer that? Yeah, Kiri.
Kind of similar to what Terrianne was saying about like me being an athlete and having to, when it came to the internship aspect, like just not being able to actually get that full internship experience because of being on the road with basketball or always having to go to practice and stuff like that. So I feel like that was like my biggest challenge, being able to juggle those two.
Yeah, the internship can be difficult for students, especially when it starts to interfere with other things that they have committed to in their personal lives. So we understand that in the College of Education. However, the internship is also one of the most important things that you'll experience, given the experiences that you're going to see in your internship are really going to give you the leg up to handle those things in the classroom. And so we want to make sure that students are able to experience those things, and that's why we stress those internships so much. But we do really feel for our students as well, because we know that it can be a hardship sometimes to go through those internships. Anybody else want to say anything about that before we move on? Okay, I don't see any hands, so I'm going to move on to the next question. What advice would you give your high school self about the college and career choices that you made?
We as teachers are sometimes our worst advocators. Many of you out and in this little panel world have probably been told, don't become a teacher. We are known for being like that. But I would tell myself from, it's only been like 3 years since I graduated high school, but I would tell, I'm kidding, my high school self that don't listen to the naysayers, that there is no better career choice that I could have made for my life. I was also a single mom. And if it wasn't for the career choices that education afforded me, I would never be where I am today. So just keep pushing through, and just, I would tell myself, do not let anybody get in your way.
Awesome. Jamie, I know you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, I was going to say kind of like the same thing that Jen said, that, I mean, coming into college, I didn't plan on being an education major just because of, I have a lot of family members who are teachers, and the same thing, they would kind of put it down completely. So I was like, oh, I won't do it. But then throughout college and taking classes and exploring more interests outside of high school and meeting other people, I just realized that that was something that I had a huge passion for. And so just kind of like, I tell my high school self to pursue what you want to pursue and don't really listen to anyone else.
You know, it is kind of sad because I would have become a teacher had I not heard from one of my teachers, don't do it. And so it's a common experience that I think everybody who is thinking about education, when they tell someone who's in education, they kind of have some negative things to say, but they don't always highlight the things that are, you know, the wonderful aspects of the job, the day-to-day when you make an impact on a student's life. So the next question is, what is the best part of your job?
The kids. It is, I'm in a different role now, an administrative role. And it's been hard, this distance learning, not having kids, you know, around and the hugs, but there's just something amazing when you see a child make so much progress, whether academically or with social emotional. And when you really build those strong relationships with kids, they become part of you, they become part of your family and your school family. And the collaboration between the teachers, it's endless, just so many great things, just being around people and then knowing that we're making something better, we're making a difference in these students' lives.
I mean, everything Terry said is absolutely true. I run my classroom with the positive behavior support model, which, if I'm sure most people know what that is in here. And if you don't know what that is for EDUCamp, it's kind of like where you drive positives instead of negatives to get kids to your end goal. And I think the best part of my job for me is when I have those students who are really, really troublesome. When I call them up to my desk and instead of, passing them a detention slip, I'm like, what's going on? You good? They're like so confused that I like genuinely want to know about them. And I'll be like, oh, I have Bollander bucks, which is Monopoly money with my face on it, and they can earn them if they behave. And so and then they spend them in our classroom store. So I'll tell them, like, if you behave, I can give you Bollander bucks, and bribery is the best. And they usually tell me what's going on at home, and that's why they're not actually mad at me, and that I'm not actually mean, and that so and so is in the hospital and this, that, whatever, and da da da. And that is just like the moment for me, making like a connection with them as a person. I tell them all the time, if you leave this room and you don't remember anything about civics, I hope you remember me, and I hope you remember the experiences we shared together. So.
That's awesome. I need to get my hands on some of those Bollander bucks. I think I earned them, right? Going to Hungary with you? Yeah. Anyway, so those are really good stories that we don't always get to hear on the other side when we're not teachers. So we don't always get to hear all those wonderful things. And I think that if students knew how wonderful teaching was, a lot more people would pursue the profession. And I think everybody experiences something related to a school experience, right? And so what would you want everyone to know about teaching that they may not really experience as a student? I'm going to pick on people. Melissa?
I'm sorry, I had a response for the last question.
No, I'm sorry. You got to think on your feet.
Okay, I'm sorry. So,
what would you want students to know about teaching when they're thinking about pursuing the profession? What would you want them to know about teaching that they may not know from their current experiences?
So I think with any profession, there are difficulties, right? There are hardships in all careers and in any path you choose. But and I might be biased, but teachers are the most important. They are the most important role in our society. They, I know it's like pretty, it's very cliche or whatever, but like teachers educate the future, everything, the future teachers, the future doctors, the future, all the different fields. And we wear so many hats as teachers for children, that the role is so important. And teachers, I think we know that, right? But I think that sometimes we might get discouraged. But every the impact you're making is, I think, unlike any impact in, compared to other careers.
I always tell my undergrads, because I teach the intro course, everybody remember that one teacher that made that impact that you always think of when you think of your schooling, and they think that teacher. And I remind them that you will be that person that people remember 20 years down the road as being the influential human. And that in itself carries so much weight to it. You become, so I think Terrianne, maybe even Caitlin said something about, they become part of your family. They become your kids. And it's just, there's nothing better than having an impact in somebody's life positively.
I think something that Melissa said was really impactful. You're teaching the future, the future, literally everybody who's going to go off and do something, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer, be a business owner. When they're passing through your classroom, you're teaching everybody. So that's an amazing and impactful thing. When you get to college and you pick your specialization, you may only teach those specific students. But when you're teaching in K-12, you're teaching everybody. So, I think that that's really impactful. What a wonderful thing to say. I know that, but it really resonated with me just now thinking about that. So what does the day in the life of a teacher look like? What is your day-to-day activities?
Well, you always get there early because you never know what your classroom's going to look like. And even if you left it at 7 p.m. the day before or whatever. So you usually get there early and then go through the copy machine with everyone else who's at the copy machine, unless you planned ahead and you copied in advance some weeks. Set up your board. I'm with the older grades, so I'm changing out homework every day and stuff because they have a decent amount of homework. And then I always stand outside my door every morning. So like even before like duty starts, when kids are just like walking around the courtyard and stuff, I'm like, good morning, like, how are you? They're always like, how do you have so much energy? And they don't realize I've been there for an hour already and I didn't have that same energy before. But that's pretty much my morning. And then in and out, I have, you know, classes every 50 minutes, lunch usually. If I can eat lunch, sometimes my principal or my assistant principal wants me to help them with something because they know I want to do ed leadership. So sometimes I'm running around helping them. But if I do have lunch, I keep my door open still because the kids will meander in and they like to eat lunch with me, even though they're older. It's kind of nice. They tell me all about who their boyfriend is this week and whatever. And I just listen and, you know, we talk. And then I have my last 2 classes of the day. I kind of plan and wipe down the board for the next day, and then I go home, unless I'm tutoring or have a club. That's after school.
So what are your hours throughout the day? What are you like getting there at what time and leaving at what time, Caitlin?
Our hours are technically 8:30 to 4:10. I usually get there around like 8 o'clock, and then in the beginning of the year, I was there till like 6, 7, like something crazy, but I really got a hold of like my planning, how to use my planning most efficiently, and how to utilize my team and my mentor and things like that. And that cut it down to, I'd probably stay from the 4:10 bell would ring. And then if I had tutoring, I would be there till 5 because I would volunteer for tutoring a lot because, you know, everyone else on my team has kids and stuff. So feel bad they want to get home. I'm like, I'll do it again, you know. So if I don't have tutoring, that would be like, if I do have tutoring, it'd be like 5 o'clock. If I don't have tutoring, I'll probably stay till like 4:30, 4:45 because everybody clears out and I can use the copy machine alone. So that's nice.
How about you, Terrianne? Since you're more an assistant principal, what does your day look like? It's probably much different than a traditional classroom teacher.
Yes, so you have to get here probably an hour, hour and a half before teachers and students arrive. And as soon as you come in, you're checking your emails. You're really just planning on, you know, your meetings and what you have to do. Our days are different based on what day it is. We have PLCs. If it's a day that we have PLCs, I'm attending all of the PLCs. I'm attending planning meetings. I'm collaborating and working with teachers. But what we do throughout the day, because our time is really not our own, we make sure we walk through classrooms. My principal is really big on being seen and making sure that we see what's happening in our classrooms with our first-year teachers, with our veteran teachers. And by observing, that's when we can give that feedback and look at the wonderful things that's happening in the school. And it just makes you more visible with what's going on in your campus. Of course, if a parent comes to the front office and they needs to speak with an administrator, you know, I leave that classroom, I head out to the front office. If a child is having difficulty, I go and I help and support our behavior specialists. But one thing that I make sure I do every day, I make sure I visit a classroom, I make sure I go different times of the day because I want to see the planning that our teachers put into work. I want to see it in action. And then by that, we'll be able to support and be really strategic in the plans that we create for our students.
Awesome, thank you. Does anybody have any other things they'd like to add to that? Yeah, Jamie.
I could speak from a primary teacher's perspective. So in the morning, like same thing, we stand outside of our door and welcome our students in. We always get there early just to set up the classroom and stuff. We're really based around center time and things like that. So it's good to have all of those things in your classroom prepared before the day starts so you're not scurrying in the middle of it. And then our day is kind of aligned. The whole grade level does the same. So we would start with ELA, maybe do a whole group lesson, then transition into smaller groups or center time. And then there's always that break in the middle of the day for the kids to go to their fine arts. So that's like art, music, PE, things like that. And that would be considered our planning time. And during that time, you meet with your team to talk about plans for that week, the next week, or that's like when we get our copying done, or just house tidying things. And then for lunch and recess time, we would switch. At my school, we had to do duties, so we switched between our team if we covered lunch or if we covered recess, and that was like a 30-minute break. But I feel like you just never really have a break. Like, it's nice to sit down for 30 minutes and eat lunch if you're lucky, but sometimes it's just you make your time more useful and do things then so you don't have to stay later in the day. And then you move on to your other subjects, math and science and things like that. And then we had to do afternoon duty as well, so that's like car line and things like that. And I was the type of person who I never wanted to have to take work home. So I always chose to, if I had to stay 2 hours late, or maybe it'd only be 30 minutes after school, I'd rather get my work done at work and then to separate the work and home life, because it could get overwhelming. And like, I think Caitlin said this, like when you first start, you're like there till 7:30 at night and you're like, oh my God, I have so many things to do. But it's super important to prioritize your time and use it effectively, so you don't get too overwhelmed. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So the next question is, I'm sure you kind of have covered this a little bit, but I really want to know more specifics. So what challenges do you face in your classroom and in the profession?
Were you nodding at me, Lauren?
Yes.
Okay. I would say the biggest challenges you face, you almost realize that they're minor challenges once you start utilizing your resources. So like the biggest challenges you face in the beginning are like behavioral, because once you get past the first 3 weeks of school, all the sweet, nicey, I love you starts to be like, how hard can I push your buttons, Miss Bollander? So that's when you like have to start using your resources, like getting to know your APs right away, and just keeping them, even if things are like going okay, just letting them know, hey, things are going okay, but I think so-and-so might be like pushing the envelope. That way when so-and-so gets like a detention or a referral one day because it's something crazy, they're not like, whoa, what happened? Nobody knew. And before you go to your APs, calling parents and keeping a log of calling parents of exactly what you talked about is like the best thing ever. And my kids are older, so I do something called stop and think, and they have to stop and sit down and think, and they have to write what they did wrong or why their behavior was however way it was. That way when I call parents or when I go to the AP or something, I'm like, oh, Jonathan wrote that he threw his pencil at Timothy. And then I'm like, well, Jonathan, this is what you did. So I think the biggest struggle is really the behaviors when they do get out of line, but they're very easy to manage if you use your resources and you document everything. So that's been my thing.
Anybody want to talk about it from the younger child perspective? Maybe Melissa or Jamie? No?
Sure, no, I can.
Melissa, okay.
I can. I just have to, think because I'm not in it right now. So, so I would say, with the younger children, it's really about, for teachers, it's about remembering what you learned in school about developmentally appropriate practice for children, and making sure that we meet certain needs. I mean, I think that's across the board, pre-K, 12, college, everything. But, when I'm speaking directly to primary, that we think about the individual needs of students, and how we actually meet those individual needs, because that is challenging when you have 20 students in your classroom and there's one of you. So to try to meet those challenges, I think it's important, as Caitlin mentioned, to really reach out, to those resources and those people in your life. So your admin team, the veteran teachers that are on your teams as well, because they're all great resources. So I heard something once that the best PD is the teacher next door. And I think I've had that personal experience, and I think, even though we have these challenges, we can definitely grow as we build off of each other.
Hey, anybody want to add anything? All right, so this is a relatively new question that we would ask teachers because we are obviously doing something virtual right now. We're all in the midst of this pandemic, and Florida's numbers seem to keep rising. So we hope to return to normalcy in the fall, but who knows with the way things are, what the fall is going to look like. So tell me, how did virtual learning and teaching go during the pandemic, and what impact did it have on student learning? Yeah, Jamie.
It went better than expected for sure, especially with little ones, but because I had first graders, it really heavily relied on parent support at home and if the parents were involved or not. And so I really feel like my students whose parents were really involved and supportive, we had a great finish to the school year, whereas other ones, unfortunately, it was a hard time for everyone at home, so it wasn't as beneficial as it could have been. It was a real struggle, though, especially at that young age when we're trying to teach phonics and reading and writing and those crucial skills, and to do it like this, it's not the easiest. So I'm excited to really critique that this coming school year, to be online, to really just make sure that we have a better game plan going forward. But it went pretty well. We used Zoom as interactions, and we had about 3 short meetings a day that we got to see the kids face to face. So the kids who came to those meetings, it was great, and we really used our time wisely. So yeah, it was pretty good.
I think for my students, since they're older, they all know how to use a computer. They all know. So the virtual teaching aspect was not the difficult part. Similar to what Jamie said about if the parents encourage them, I'd have some kids who didn't log on, or I'd have parents who would call me and be like, Sam said you canceled class every day till the end of the year, and that's why he's not been going. And I was like, no, that's not happening. So that was one challenge. A lot of Xboxes were lost, in this virtual teaching process. But I think the biggest challenge of all is what is the challenge that you almost don't see unless kids share with you, was lack of resources at home for students. A lot of my students had ended up reaching out to me and saying, because they're older and they know what's going on in the home, hey, Ms. Bollander, I hate to let you know this, but we don't have food. And I was like, oh God, all right, well, we need to do something about this. So I reached out to my admin and the guidance counselors, and we organized a team of people who would do pickup and drop off, and all the teachers would put in money for groceries and resources and things. And that was kind of a challenge I hadn't even, not that I hadn't thought of, but that you don't think the primary was, oh, we need to get these kids to learn, but their basic needs weren't being met. So the biggest challenge was to do that first before we could teach them virtually. And every Thursday we started loading up the cars, and I would just say there's no class on Thursday, and we'd go and we'd deliver food to families, like groceries and toiletries, things that they might need. And that was the biggest challenge for virtual teaching for me.
Yeah, those are things that you don't necessarily, as a teacher, you're worried about educating them, but if they're not being taken care of the way they need to pay attention and to log in and learn, those things need to be met. So that's really awesome that you guys band together at your school and did something like that. It's amazing. Anyone else want to add anything to that? I'm sure the students have their own opinions on how virtual learning went. And I definitely Even the friends that I have that are parents definitely shared with me their opinions. So I think the parents were having more of a hard time than everyone else may have been having. I'm not sure. So this question is for everybody. I'd like to know where you see yourself in 5 to 10 years in your career. So whether that's in the classroom, moving up administratively, even the ones that are teaching in the college setting, you know, where do you see yourself? Because education and becoming a teacher and an educator doesn't mean that you have to stay in the classroom. So those other opportunities do evolve, and I'd love to know what you all think about that.
I'll go. So I had originally wanted to be a principal. And then when I started my doctoral program, I just realized how much I enjoyed working with pre-service teachers. So I definitely hope that in 5 or 10 years, I'm still teaching, hopefully moving up in rank for professors, and just kind of continuing to support the education community from a different angle.
Kiri, how's your internet connection? Can you tell us where you see yourself? Because I know you're in a little bit different of a situation. So where do you see yourself in your career? You're muted, Kiri.
I tried to tell her she was on mute and I was muted.
Wow.
We're gonna get through this, everyone.
So I don't know, honestly, but I hope to be somewhere in the education field. Hopefully, well, I know being the CEO of my nonprofit organization. So that's, and yeah, I don't really know, maybe get that teaching experience. At first I wanted to be a principal, then it shifted to athletic director, then it shifted to just a teacher. I don't know. But somewhere where maybe outside of the school setting, I just want to impact the kids. I love being around the kids, want to be hands-on with them. So somewhere there.
And, you know, as a student, when I was in, you know, high school, I had no idea that there were all these different opportunities. So it is kind of hard to choose even in a school setting, what type of position you might want to end up doing, because I didn't realize that there were all these other options. So that's okay that you don't know.
I always said if I was to teach, I love the babies. Like, it's either elementary or I would just have to go to high school. I feel like middle school that's detrimental. Like, I feel like that's one of the hardest places to teach. But like, if I was to teach high school, I'd probably like teach like a AVID course, because I feel like that helped. And for me as a student with like career choices in college and all that, and I feel like I can relate. And since I experienced that, I'm able to help too.
Awesome. Thank you, Kiri. Jen, I know you were trying to talk. Did I cut you off? No?
I'm laughing at Kiri, with Kiri, not at you, boo. But I always wanted to teach the little ones. And my student teaching, my internship taught me otherwise. I was placed in a very an urban high school, and I was scared to death. And I ended up never leaving high school. So high school ended up being, and middle school, I love middle school, high school, that age group. They're just so much fun. So at one point I was afraid of the big kids, and then I realized I was more afraid of the ankle biters.
Right.
No, it's fun. Regardless of where you are, it's, I don't know, there's just nothing. I'm telling you, I'm biased. I get that, but there's nothing better than our field. I started off as a teacher. I went and started doing placements in the college in Ohio, and I end up here, teaching college kids in Florida because of my career as a teacher. There's nothing better.
I was even thinking about doing that too, the whole college thing, but
and the kids are the same in college. They're just some of them just a little bit older. That's it.
Yeah.
You have the same impact.
Anybody else want to take this one? Where they see themselves? Caitlin? Yeah.
So I will finish my gifted program. It's a 1.5-year program, and I'll reach my year in August, but I've been like doing it very quickly. So I'll be done before December, probably like mid-fall. And my principal basically called me over the summer and was like, you need to be an administrator. And I was like, okay. So I started my application, and now I'm kind of in this period where I haven't submitted yet. I know it's what I want to do, but I haven't submitted yet because the program I was going to do it with starts their capstone like immediately. You do it throughout while you're doing the classes, and because we would be virtually, we're most likely, our county is most likely going back virtually, I wouldn't be able to do some of the walkthroughs and other things, so I don't want to have to sacrifice that part of my experience, because I think it's really important, because once we do go back, that's like a large part of the job. So I'm debating right now if I'm going to defer myself till maybe December. Hopefully we'll be back to school by then and stuff. But ultimately, in 5 to 10 years, I see myself as an administrator for the district I'm in right now.
Anyone else? No? No one wants to share their aspirations? Okay, so this question should be really easy. Why did you choose FGCU? Caitlin, I know that you can answer this question because let's see your wings up. Where's your
I feel bad I've been
tattoo?
talking a lot. I actually have an FGCU tattoo because I love it so much that I could explode from the inside out, because FGCU is the greatest school in the world. Not to be biased, but
Okay.
I kind of applied everywhere, and like FAU, FGCU, UF, UNF, UCF, everywhere but FSU. Sorry, anyone who's from FSU. It's just too far away from me. I'm not a hater. So I applied most places in Florida, and was expecting to get more denials, but I didn't. And then Jamie and I actually went and toured FGCU together, because we know each other way back from high school. And once we toured, I was like, this is it, Jamie, this is it, this is it. And we just loved it. I loved it so much. And I think I just had such a great experience. And then orientation was not too far after that. And like being in orientation, they give you stay over those 2 nights and you kind of get the experience of what it was like. And I was like, oh yeah, 100%, I'm all in, like, this is it. And that was why it was the school for me. And one of the main reasons was it's a smaller school. It's smaller class sizes. And I mean, half the people on this panel, like, I feel like I know in some way or form from, like, I know Tim has taken like a ton of random photos of me for different like social media things. Laura and I got to study abroad together. Dr. Desmore, before she was the assistant dean, was my professor. And then I just bugged her in her office all the time when my advisor was going through a transition period. It's just like that homey feel, like FGCU is home. So it's nice to have that feeling when you go to college. And Candy Chamberlain answered my calls all the time. I ask her everything about this internship, that internship. What does this mean? How do I fill this out? So it's nice. So.
Well, we enjoyed having you. I'm sad that you're not there anymore. It's very, very upsetting. Terrianne, do you want to answer? I know that your experience is probably much different, considering you had a young child.
So I didn't live on campus. So I live in Lehigh Acres. I actually moved here my junior year of high school. So I was local and I wanted to stay home so I can be home with my son also. So FGC was really close to my house and it was very convenient. And like you said, Caitlin, it was such a small school. But it's a large school, but you feel very small and you feel very connected to everyone. Dr. Desmore was my advisor. And to this day, we still can maintain contact. And even when I walk back on campus, when I do tours with our students, it still feels like home to me. And it has grown and changed so much in the past 9 years. But I love FGCU and I'm so excited to go back in August.
And just so everyone knows, you know, I'm an alum, Tim's an
I'm
alum,
an alum.
Candy's an alum, Kiana's an alum from her graduate and doctoral program. Jen is soon to be. Melissa graduated with her doctorate. So everyone on this call is an alumni or will be an alumni, Jen. So, you know, we obviously all come from different places and we have our different reasons for choosing the university. You know, I was a local student. I went to North Fort Myers High School. And the reason I went to FGCU, you know, I wanted to stay local and I wanted to have that college experience, but not be too far away from home. And that definitely gave me the opportunity to go to FGCU. And you think being a local person, you're like, I'm going to know everybody already. Like, this is going to be like, you know, going to like high school again. I did know people that went to FGCU, but I never saw them unless I wanted to see them. The people that I met at FGCU were totally different than the people that I knew from high school. And so really, just because you're from the local area and you know people that go to your school does not mean you're going to know everybody that goes to FGCU. You know, we have 15,000 students. If you want to see them, you can meet up for lunch, but most likely you probably will never see them in your day-to-day at the university. So it really provided me with a great experience to be home, but also get to experience people from everywhere else. So anybody want to share any reason why they went to FGCU that's not on our specific panel, but maybe is an alum?
I was just going to say, I have similar reasons from everybody else. You know, it felt small, it felt like home, and everyone's been talking about the campus. And this is going to sound really weird, but when I was, before I was a student and I was coming to visit FGCU, and if you haven't been to campus yet, I hope you get a chance soon. I know it's, a little crazy right now, but when you drive in the entrance and you see like the fountain in front of Luckert and that kind of thing, as soon as I got there and I saw that, I instantly knew, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going here. Like, this is it. So I don't know what it is about campus. I think just all the awesome things that go on here, it kind of just has this like this aura to it of like welcomingness. So I don't know. That's just how I feel about FGCU.
And it speaks to something when you have so many people who are alumni that are also working for the university,
Mm-hmm.
because if you didn't enjoy your experience while you were there, you'd have no want or desire to work
Mm-hmm.
for that place. And so we had such a great time being students. I really wanted to come back. So that's why I'm here. And I'm sure everyone else kind of feels that way as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of your home forever. And everybody's super friendly. I don't mean that to sell you, but everyone is very friendly. I mean, you walk on campus, you say hello, everyone's always like, hello. It's like a, I don't know, happy environment. So does anybody want to share their favorite memory for FGCU? And this is for everybody.
I had one.
Yeah, Jen.
I did not do my undergrad here. I did my undergrad up north in the frozen tundra of Ohio. And I came here for an interview and I fell in love with the campus. I mean, there's a beach in the middle of our campus. I still cannot get used to that. There's a beach. There's palm trees outside of my office, but it's the home feeling. And my favorite memory on campus is walking across the boardwalk and getting stuck in a thunderstorm. It was so cool. Now that I live here, getting stuck in a thunderstorm really isn't all that exciting, although I do stand out and watch them. But just being on campus, that feeling, like every time you come on campus, even when you know you're going to have a challenging day, or if you've got a heavy caseload ahead of you, or the heat is melting the skin off your face, campus is home. Our campus, and I've been to multiple campuses, our campus is home, and it makes you feel automatically part of it, and you're part of the family. You're automatically an Eagle. So, I mean, just every day walking across and seeing the wildlife and just seeing the people, every day is a new memory for me on campus, no joke.
I'll go. I think my favorite memory is watching my daughter graduate, who is a teacher now. She's going on her 4th year at Harns Middle, and she is a middle school teacher, and she absolutely loves it. I wasn't one of those parents that said, don't do this. I said, are you sure? Because I worked in the College of Education, and I knew the profession was both rewarding and challenging. And I can tell you, watching her grow through our program, it not only brought me pride as a parent, but knowing that she still has the ties to our community and to the other students she went through with, and she still can go back and speak to our professors. That's what makes us different at FGCU. It's not, you don't just pass through, you become part of us. And as long as we're there, we welcome you at any time.
Melissa, you're on mute. I can see you talking.
I'm sorry. I would say for me, it's been the relationships that I've been able to build, not only with some of my classmates in the program, but also some of the professors in the program. They really have been mentors for me and, you know, guided me in many ways. So I feel like I guess that's part of what makes it home, right? That we've had these relationships, and so just kind of those memories with them in general have been really positive.
Anyone else want to share? Yeah, Caitlin.
Sorry. My favorite memory was going to Hungary, because I never thought as an education major that I could study abroad. Lo and behold, I was wrong. And I'm so happy that our school offers so many opportunities. And it was just amazing, like, to be able to teach in another country where everything is so different. Like, here we teach entire classes about using technology in the classroom, and over there they don't use like technology at all. So it's just so crazy. And then also their bell schedule, like how teachers move around classrooms, kids don't move around. It's just a whole different world and a different experience. And I think it was so great because I felt like it really helped me in my professional career now. I remember our school lost power for a whole day, and one of our veteran teachers walked by my classroom and said, "Good luck today, because you probably don't know how to teach without like the computer." And I was like, "Surprise, I do." And so it was really great because it was just like once in a lifetime experience. I got to travel to another country and see the world and go in 3-million-year-old caves with Lauren and, you know, fall all over the place. And it was just awesome. And it was something that I wouldn't have done had I not gone to FGCU. And all my friends who have gone to, like, have done education programs at other schools, like, I won't name drop, but they didn't get that experience, and they couldn't get that experience because you could only do your internship here in the States. You couldn't have your internship somewhere else too. So that was amazing.
That was definitely a fun trip. I didn't get to, I experienced it vicariously through the students, because when I was there, I wasn't teaching. I was just getting to observe and participate and make sure that everyone was safe, I guess. But that was really fun. And Caitlin did an exceptional job. No wonder she's such a great teacher. So, and that's something that anybody can participate in. We don't take everybody. It's only those who want to participate and who meet the criteria. And that was it was a small group of students. There was 9 of us total, including myself and Dr. Diane Kraft, who is our director of internships. So it was really fun. We do that every year. The same trip that Caitlin went on, we do every other year. But then there's also a trip that is specifically for early childhood students that go the opposite years that the other trip goes. So it's really fun. So I encourage you, if you're going to be an education major, to definitely take that trip. Hopefully when things go back to normal and we can actually travel abroad. Anybody else want to add before we open it up for questions? No? Okay. EduCampers, this is your time. Show your face. We want to see you. Ask your questions. This is your time to ask anything you want to know, whether it be about the university or about their experience as teachers. Whatever it is, this is your time.
Oh, they're very shy today.
You can also put it in the chat box if you don't want us to see your face. Okay.
Okay. Hi. I'm Joel. I'm a rising junior at North Fort High School in Sarasota County. I I think I want to be a teacher, but I'm not too sure. But I know I love helping others, and like I'm very passionate when it comes to like teaching other people how to do things, and like that's why I think I benefit from it. But people tell me that like it might not be in my best interest because I'm too smart and like the money's not good enough, or like I have like better interests in other areas, so like I benefit society better. And like I'm taking all these like comments into consideration as I'm quickly approaching the college application process. So as people that have successfully pursued their careers in education, can you give me any advice on seeing if an education career is the best fit for me?
So I
Go ahead.
totally understand what you're saying right now, because my brother is an engineer, and my whole family kind of wanted me to be a biologist because I was very good in those areas. And I actually started out and took biology 1 and 2, chem 1, all the way up to calc 2. And I was lying to myself the whole time because I knew I wanted to be an educator, and I changed my major. So don't do something because other people think you can do a different career, because I'm sure you can, and I'm sure all of us could be very successful in other careers as well. But you need to do something that you are going to love every single day. Like I wake up and I can't wait to go to school like every day, and that's the best part of my job. And even when I'm having a bad day, sometimes I feel like the kids can see it and they'll be like, "Are you okay? Like, do you need a hug?" And I'll be like, "Oh, you know, maybe I do need a hug today." You know what I mean? It's the best career. It's the most rewarding. And saying you won't make enough money, like I always thought that too. But at the same time, there's so much room to grow, and constantly wanting to grow in education is really great too. And like when you get your master's, you get a pay grade. Most counties have like a yearly pay system grade. When you move to different positions, like if you're a team leader or if you become an administrator one day, those are also going to help you in the financial aspect. But don't live your life looking at the money, because coming from someone who lives in a 1-bedroom apartment and it's the best thing ever, I would not change my job.
Jen, you were going to say something?
Joel, we met yesterday. Nice to see you again. We talked about this earlier, the naysayers, and even when they are teachers telling you not to do it, blow it off, dust it off. It's not, do not let that get in your way. I stand with Caitlin. I started off completely different and actually finished an entire undergrad before I realized I made the wrong move. So if this is something that you're passionate about, please do. When you come to FGCU for your freshman year, I encourage you to take an intro to teaching course with me. And I can help you out with that. Or you, depending on your school, some high schools actually offer dual enrollment in different programs where you can take some intro to college courses in high school to see if this is something that would be a great fit. There's a lot of opportunities. Come do a college visit. Come spend the day with me at FGCU, and I will show you our world. It really is. Don't listen to the naysayers. It seriously is your best career. I mean, hello, come on, you get to be with us. What's better than that?
Agreed. I think you have to do what you want to do. So if you're contemplating other careers, you have to decide what works best for you and what you feel compelled to do. When you get to college, you can kind of explore other things. You know, you have your first year to kind of figure that out. So I wouldn't be too concerned. Definitely take an intro class. If you're considering another career, you can take an intro class most likely in that field as well. But if you feel, I think everybody who's in education, even if you're not in the classroom, at some point in your life, you felt this pull towards that calling to say, I want to work with young people. I want to impact somebody's life. Those are the things that you know deep down that that's what you want to do. And even if you don't start off doing those things, you're going to end up coming back to the profession at some point or another, because that calling doesn't go away.
I wanted to add to the first thing you mentioned was that you wanted to help others. So I think That's really important. Of course, we have, areas that like subject areas that we love. So you can kind of bring it together. Like, let's say, you love to teach math, or you love math and you want to, it's teaching is like this great opportunity to bring those two worlds together, that compassion and, the empathy component, and really wanting to help others and, making significant changes in people's lives, but then also, sprinkling in that love for a content area that you have.
I think another good thing to add on too that I was thinking about while we were all talking is also when you think of like compensation, you immediately, I feel like, just think about your annual, yearly salary, but that doesn't include like all of your benefits you get as a teacher. Like, you get really usually good health insurance and other things, and that's a great aspect for like my family, for our health insurance and things. And another thing that is wonderful is your retirement. Like, those are all long-term things, I mean, especially when you're in high school. But I didn't think about those things until I became a teacher, and I thought about all my friends who don't have that. And job security. A lot of my friends lost their job during this pandemic, but they're not getting rid of teachers. They need more right now. So that's been good.
Lauren, you're muted.
Yes, I know. I'm trying. I was looking at the chat. It's hard for me with I have a touch screen.
We have some chat questions.
Do you want to read the question, Tim? I know there's like a couple of questions in there, so yeah. we'll get to those.
So let's do. Jen kind of answered one, and it was more about kind of like what people are talking about. There's negatives, that kind of thing, and I think that's what we've been talking about, is that everybody should do what they feel like they want to do, and if you want to be an educator, you should pursue that. The other question we just got is about FGCU having a secondary English program. I don't know, Lauren, if you can maybe answer that.
Yes, I can. So we don't have a secondary English program per se. However, we have something called a minor in education. So what a lot of students do is they will major in something like English, for example, which is what you can do, and then minor in education. So you'll still get those courses that you're required to have for your certification. The difference with the minor is that it's not required to pass your GKT. It's not required to pass your subject area exam in order for you to earn your degree from the university. So those things you would have to do on your own in order to go and earn that certification so that you can teach English. I know that the university and the College of Ed is looking to add some education programs, and I know secondary English is one of those that they were discussing of adding in the future, but I'm not sure what the timeline is on that. And so the better option would be to major in English and minor in education. Now, depending on what you want to do, a lot of students, they're interested in English because they want to teach secondary or English as a second language, essentially. And what I want to remind students is if you do elementary education, you're going to earn the endorsement to teach students with English second language learners. So sometimes that may be what you're actually looking to do. And so I just want to make sure I mention that as well. Yeah, Caitlin.
Yeah, if I could actually jump in on what Lauren said for the question on the secondary English. I actually have a fellow teacher at my school who is an FGCU alum. Our administrators introduced us to each other because they said we went to the same college and that would be cool. And when I was talking to her, she teaches secondary English. And I was like, wait, we don't have that program. How'd you do that? And she said that she did the elementary education program, and then when she was done, she just took the secondary test, and she got hired right away out of high school, and then taught there for 3 years, and then she moved to this county. Now she teaches at my school. She's a wonderful teacher. I felt like she has great experience, just as much as myself, more because she's been a veteran teacher for a couple of years now, and she took that route that you were talking about, Lauren. So
And Joel has a pretty good follow-up question. He asks, could you double major in education and the subject area of interest?
So I don't know if Kiana wants to take this or I can take it. I can start answering and Kiana can jump in. So I'm not talking from an advisor because I'm not an academic advisor, but what I will tell you is a lot of times with education, it's very, very difficult to double major because there are so many courses that you need to take within those 4 years. If you were to double major, it would take a lot longer. And so a lot of students don't see the benefit of double majoring. A lot of times what they'll do, and we encourage them to do, is get a master's degree. So if you're really looking to double major, I'm not sure what the 2 subjects that you're interested in are, but a lot of times that can be followed up with a master's degree, and you can kind of concentrate in that area that you might be interested in. So I will toss that over to Kiana. I'm sure she has some additional things to add from the advising perspective, but we typically discourage students from taking 2 majors at the same time.
Yeah, it depends. Just as Lauren was just saying, some of the majors though that we see common double majors happening with are like our secondary math students. They will sometimes double major because there's not a lot of difference between our secondary education math program and then the just math, standalone math major, the BA in math. So that's just an example of one that you can probably do in 5 years and not have, a lot more time added. But others, it's a little bit difficult. Another one that is somewhat similar, biology. We'll sometimes see double majoring with that one, and it shouldn't take too much time because secondary education biology and then the BS in biology are very similar. Another one that I see students double majoring in is secondary education social science, and they will sometimes pick up the history major and double major there. But it's not really necessary. If you're really interested in the subject, sure, you can do it. It'll take a little bit longer, but long term, it would be better to do a master's degree in that program.
Awesome. Any other questions? I'll give you a minute just in case you're typing one in the chat box. I am a little, hurt that you all don't want to show your face. I'd love to see you. If we were in person, we would have, already probably had, I don't know, one of our fun party nights. So we would have gotten to know each other really well, especially
Maybe they'd be
Jen.
less shy.
Yeah.
Me, we would have done the wet walk.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I know.
We could have done the wet walk.
No, we never do a wet walk on a Monday.
It's Tuesday.
We wouldn't have done the wet walk until later.
Usually Thursday or
Well, we'd be
Wednesday.
getting
Wednesday or
excited
Thursday.
for it. We'd be getting excited
Yes,
for it.
and I'd be talking Kiana into going with us.
It's awesome. It's one of my favorite things about FGCU.
And for those of you who don't know what a wet walk is, people are like, what the heck? So the wet walk is we actually take you through the swamp. So some of you might be like, oh, thank God I don't have to do that. But it really is fun. You do kind of get in touch with nature in a way that some people have never done before. So I think it's kind of cool. I saw something pop up. Do we have a question?
Cassidy was agreeing that the wet walk was fun. And then
See?
Dream asked, what are some of the different strategies to deal with behavioral issues when tutoring or teaching? It's a great question. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and answer. Oh, Melissa.
Oh, Terrianne. Go ahead, Terrianne.
So like our panelists mentioned before, it's about being positive and building relationships with parents and students. At the forefront, when you start to see a child not responding, the typical way, or you might have just a difficult time getting them to comply, you just have to look at what is the cause of the behavior and what am I doing that could be causing this behavior to happen, and flip it, make it positive. Start noticing when they are are doing what they need to be doing, looking at the positive, but ultimately being positive is going to build that relationship for that child. And, start, building that relationship. Caitlin said it earlier, just talking to them. Hey, how are you doing today? How was everything? You had a great, if it's tutoring, how was your day today? You had a great day at school. When it's time to walk them out to the car, walk with them and talk to them. It's those little moments students remember that you start to build that trust with them. And then, getting the parents involved, having that communication with the parents and that conversation about, hey, what's going on? I'm trying this. How can you help me? And 9 times out of 10, actually, most of the times, parents are very supportive. And once you have that accountability, once the students know there's accountability at home, behaviors start to improve. But you have to build that relationship. That is first and foremost, dealing with any students, especially when they have difficulty behaving and complying.
Melissa, did you have something to add, or were you?
I'd like to echo that. Building relationships is the number one thing. I would say that asking the students questions, really kind of being aware of what their interests are. You can sometimes get them to open up that way. And, as Terrianne mentioned, a lot of times the root of the behavior is a lot deeper. So we need to, approach children with empathy and understanding, and offer them support and let them know that that we are there for them so that they trust us.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I see another one. They're coming in now.
Mm-hmm.
You want to read it, Tim, or should I get it up?
Can you see it?
I think I can see it. Let's see.
Okay, I can read it though.
Okay.
So
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
How do you address the different behaviors, and how do you keep the students from feeling a certain way about you and another child? Maybe, the word jealousy in parentheses. So maybe another child feeling jealous. You're not paying enough attention to them. You're paying more attention to another student. That kind of thing.
Who wants to take that one? Anyone have that experience before? Yeah, Caitlin.
So I had a student who, I feel like this situation usually occurs when you have students who are like butting heads with each other. So they don't want to feel like the teacher's taking one side or another. And so the way I try to approach that is listening more than speaking, because usually the kids just want to talk about how they feel. And so I had a girl who she felt like the other girl was bullying her, and the girl who was being accused of the bullying felt like she wasn't being a bully, that she just didn't want to be her friend. So it was like more of a conflict than bullying. And so what I did was I tried to speak to each of them alone, and just talk about how they feel and why do they feel that way, and could they understand how the other person might feel about this, and kind of getting them to see that perspective. And I made the point to both of them, like, that you don't have to be friends, but we all have to respect each other. And I think that initially when I approached the girl who was being accused as the bully, she automatically went on the defense because she thought that, I was going to already accuse her and things like that. But I think we have to remember that kids are kids, and I don't think she was intentionally trying to hurt the other girl's feelings. I just think that she didn't want to be her friend. And so I told her how I could understand that too. I think it's very important to just listen, and then play devil's advocate to both children, but let them know you ultimately support their decision at the end of the day, as long as they're respecting everyone. And that I was able to maintain both relationships, but still make both students feel validated at the end of the day, even though initially they were both kind of on the defense that I had approached them about the other person's feelings. So it's kind of like devil's advocate type thing.
I would like to add to Caitlin's statements that kind of reiterating this idea of empathy and kind of modeling it as a teacher, and even communicating with students that we all have individual needs, right? So sometimes I remember, you know, students that I've had in the past, if they were having a hard day, you know, I would redirect them in you know, a certain way, or, you know, sit down. And I think if we model this understanding in our classrooms that you know, we all have individual needs, and we address things differently because we you know, some students react differently. The students get it, and I taught kindergarten, so they understand. So I think it's, you know, just communicating that and modeling that in your own classroom.
Awesome. So we've got another question, and this one I think is for Caitlin, since I think it was Caitlin who said that she teaches in Palm Beach County. Was that you, Caitlin? Okay. I'm from there, and I was wondering if you noticed a significant difference between the kids you intern with on this coast and the kids in Palm Beach County. I'm from Palm Beach and consider moving back there after I get my degree. Any opinions on the two different school districts?
So what I'll say is I interned in, so I had my very first co-op in Collier County, and then I had my internships in Lee County, and then I had a separate internship in Hungary, and now I teach in Palm Beach County. And what I can say is you learn how to work with children and know your audience. So even if you go to FGCU and you want to come back to Palm Beach County, that's totally okay. I had that confliction. If I want to work in Palm Beach County, should I leave it? Absolutely. Like, it's totally fine. If you go to FGCU, you're going to get the experience, the co-op experience with your mentor and your intern, like the person who is your teacher when you're interning with them. You get the experience from them. You get experience from, you have a university supervisor, you have the internship coordinators at your disposal. And the most experience you get is in the classes, in your internship, actually working with the kids. And kids are kids, whether they live on the West Coast or the East Coast or the other side of the world. And that is basically what I gathered from that. I moved back to Palm Beach County because all of my family was here, and they have a really good program for what I want to do ultimately. End goal, they're paying for the classes I'm in right now and things like that. So that was part of my decision and things like that. And they paid for some of my education. So if you are currently living in Palm Beach County and you want to go to FGCU, Palm Beach County loves people who go to FGCU because they come here with a lot more professional development, and they are better equipped than some of the teachers they get from elsewhere. They tell me that all the time. So I would contact Palm Beach County District and let them know that you are thinking about going to FGCU, because they gave me a scholarship because I let them know that. So in the scholarship just said, like, go to FGCU, do your school, and then come back and teach with us. So I would reach out to them as well, because they can help fund your education at FGCU.
Okay, I think there was another question. I think it was a follow-up to what we were talking about. And it seems like, Yanaya, you might have a specific situation going on with a student that you might have a behavioral issue with if you're tutoring them or something. Because she's asking, how do you handle a student conflict from getting worse? So if they're already in a conflict, how do we kind of prevent that from continuing or worsening? Anybody have any tips that can help Yanaya and her? It sounds like she has a specific situation. No?
So you have to, if something is escalating, it's important that as adults that we have to take a step back, and we have to realize, and we have to not cause more damage to the situation that's occurring. And sometimes it is where you have to, you know, talk in a very quiet voice. Sometimes you have to not necessarily go and direct the student. Sometimes you have to, and most importantly, you have to call for someone to help and assist. Not saying take your power away from you dealing with the conflict, but at times you might need to just take a step back, and then revisit, and then, you know, counsel with the child afterwards if something you feel, before you get yourself worked out, before you say something, it's to take a step back and just be very calm in the matter, because students are looking to us to see how we handle conflict and how we handle things that, you know, sometimes it can be difficult, but how do we do it? How do we, you know, stay calm? How do we talk to them in a quiet voice? How do we, you know, just, you know, take a step back for a situation and see if somebody can come and help?
De-escalation. I think Terrianne is putting it perfectly. De-escalation. We cannot add our own emotion, because our own emotion fuels the fire, and which is really hard, because as teachers and educators, we are naturally empathetic and naturally a little more emotional based. So removing our own emotional impact and reaction sometimes is key.
Well, thank you guys. Hopefully that at least helps a little bit, Yanaya. And I think we are at time. So I am going to thank all of our panelists. This was awesome. You all did a fabulous job. I learned a lot. I'm sure our students did as well. And I want to thank our EDUCampers. And I'm going to plug our next session for tomorrow. So tomorrow's time is a little bit different because it's later in the day. It's 2:30, and it is our STEM presentation. So you're going to actually get to do an activity at home. So I think it'll be super fun. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.